Okay, so now we move into the second phase. We've done the first phase where we tried to understand the lay of the land, but now it's time for us to show and tell. That's what the second phase of this first 90 days is about. We don't want to spend time walking around the organization with a PowerPoint deck. I used to do that early on in my career. I'd have a PowerPoint deck. I'd be walking around the organization talking about my initiative. This is not something that you want to do in these early stages because, again, for people to buy in, they need some kind of social proof. So the first thing that I would work on in this second phase is getting an early win. So go back to your early adopters, find out what they're struggling with, identify a few projects you can collaborate on that can really help you get that early win. And also show how your process works, because applying your process with your early adopters to help them get an early win is really the first way that you actually show that the changes you're trying to make can actually become successful. Some leaders are hesitant to jump into initiatives because they don't want to really back something that may not succeed, and getting an early win really helps with that. So if you choose these projects you want to work on, make sure that you're working on something that is visible, where you can actually show the progress that you made. Also make sure you're working on something that is valuable, something that's important to the organization, not a side project, but something that's actually valuable and important to the company as a whole. And also make sure you're working on something that is verifiable, where you can actually measure the impact that you made and show it to the organization. So visible, valuable, verifiable, these are the three characteristics that you should kind of focus on as you're picking the projects that you're going to work on with your early adopters and champions. And why do we want to work with early adopters and champions to get our early wins? Well, first of all, they're the ones that are going to give us permission to work on small projects with them. And they care about our success, so they're more likely to give us projects so we can really get a lot of momentum. Early adopters are also enthusiastic, so they're far more likely to give us their energy and resources to work with us to get these small and early wins. Remember, the goal is to create momentum. So we want to create the momentum by working with people that will give us that energy to sort of build that momentum through getting these early wins. So identify projects that you can finish quickly, that you can show value, that you can show measurable impact with, and then you can use that to really drive the momentum that you're trying to create within the company. Now, the second part of this phase is, if you do become successful, then it's important to tell your story. And as you tell your story, don't focus too much on facts and data and numbers. The best way to tell a story is to tell a story using narrative. And also, take your early adopters and champions and make them the central character of the story. Don't make yourself the central character of the story. Make your champions the heroes of the story. So if you get a success, celebrate the success in public, and make sure that everybody in the company gets to hear about this success as you celebrate the early adopter or champion that you actually work with. So tell your story, use narrative to tell the story, and also get feedback from other folks within the organization in terms of how the story is impacting their thinking. But it's really important that you get the early win and then you celebrate the win in public by telling a story and using narrative to tell the story. Why does narrative matter when we're telling the story? Especially narrative that makes the early adopter the central figure of the story. Well, stories actually resonate more than facts and data. And the kinds of stories that resonate are the stories where the individuals who are listening to the story can see themselves in the characters in the story. One of the pushbacks that I often got when I worked with large organizations was when I told them stories about successes from other companies, because then they always had excuses about why that wouldn't work inside their company. But if you tell your story, and it's a story of a success and a win that happened inside the organization, and the main protagonist in the story is your early adopter and champion who's one of their colleagues, then people are far more likely to resonate with those kinds of stories. So go out there, get the early win, and then use that to drive the progress of your success through telling the story to the rest of the organization. So the last thing you want to do in this second phase is refine your vision. As you've been out there talking about your early win and telling your story, people will be asking you questions, people will be sharing their concerns. And so you can use those things to refine your vision. And also, just the work of getting the early win and working with your champions would have told you a lot about how your organization reacts and responds to the kinds of changes you want to do. So you can also use that to refine your vision. I don't think that we should be rigid about our vision in terms of how the changes can manifest in the organization. I believe that this ability to iterate and learn is actually really important. There's a piece of work that I did before where we ran an innovation sprint, and then we learned that people weren't really submitting the right kinds of ideas. And so we gathered people together to see how we can improve the process for asking people to submit ideas. So just that kind of ability to refine our vision is really critical for the ongoing success of the initiative. So thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe below, and also share this video with any teams or leaders that are working on an initiative that they're trying to create momentum and buy-in for.